Just waiting for Jim and Joe to give me some good news. It's 8 o'clock. Where are you guys? Waiting for my good news. Get your fat asses online already.
It's not the X's and the O's. It's the Jim Joes.
It was a legitimate call. It made sense. It was pass interference. I don't care what anybody says. That was pass interference, offensive pass interference.
Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk from two men in the know. It's Football in the Know with Jim and Joe.
And you can win under pressure when it's there. You call runs when you're not supposed to. And Dak Prescott is throwing it in the dirt.
You know, I'm convinced that Jameis Winston is going to have an ESPN special 30 for 30.
All right, welcome everybody to Football in the Know. I am Jim McPhee, and alongside of me here is Mr. Joe Capita, as always.
Welcome back, everybody, to Football on the Know Show. We are locked and loaded, ready to go. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. We're broadcasting live from the Hollow in downtown Albany. It's a pleasure having everybody here. We really appreciate it. And joining us is the owner of the Hollow. It's Miss Dora Phillip here. And she has been at the front lines of everything that's been going on here with COVID down in Albany. This place here was a large music venue. It served food, and it was a happening place down here in downtown. As you can see back here, a few cars running through, but she's here to tell us about what's been going on since the pandemic hit and what they're doing moving forward here. So, Dora, pleasure to have you here.
Hi, thank you so much.
No problem.
To the show.
It's a pleasure.
Love you guys. Thanks for having us.
Why don't you talk us to us a little bit? Talk us through what happened, like when you first initially heard now Governor Cuomo coming out and saying that he's going to be shutting down restaurants, only essential businesses. Now, what happened during those next couple of weeks?
So I'd say probably around March 12th or maybe the 10th. That's when things started really getting heated. Mm-hmm. You know, there was talk of having the Final Four, is it? The NCAA.
Yep, that's right.
They were coming.
March Madness was
They were
kicking
going
in.
to be here, and it was our first time having them, I think, in 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we were all incredibly excited. So all of the bars and restaurants, we all purchased tens of thousands of dollars worth of alcohol and food and product. Plus, we were also having our big parade day festival, which happens every single year for how many years here in downtown.
Yep,
and
St. Patrick's Day. Yep, yeah, it's very big down here.
It is extremely big. We always have bands and Irish bands, and this entire place is just insanely packed. So all of the restaurants, all of the bars purchased an incredible amount of inventory. Because we had all these events happening.
Right, absolutely.
So we were just, prepping for it, essentially. And then things started getting worse and worse. And there was talk of the NCAA playing to an empty arena. And now this feels very almost commonplace now, right?
Yeah, now, right.
After
Absolutely.
6 whole months. But back in March, that was not.
Yes.
And we were all up in arms. We didn't understand. We hadn't been given really any sort of guidance about COVID. So we were listening to the governor, and we decided we actually closed down prior to the mandate. We did not wait.
Okay.
Part of it was we wanted to control our own narrative. That was a part of it. But we also wanted to be, good community soldiers. We didn't want to exacerbate the spread of COVID, certainly not. So we decided, and we put out the statement the Sunday prior to the mandate, and we shut down. Did we think this would be, going on still after all of these months? Certainly not.
Yeah,
no,
absolutely.
we thought maybe a month. Maybe. We did not think
Yeah, I think all of us
anything
are
like
working
this.
through with it as it goes. And even up until now, there's questions with, is baseball going to keep going? The NBA, with other things that are going on in the world too as well, would they be shutting down? And NFL, like we talk football all the time, NFL's going to be starting in 8 days. And they've
Wow.
been steadfast in saying, we are not quitting, we are not shutting down, we are going full steam ahead. And getting some scrutiny for that, too. And like you said, you wanted to be ahead of the ball here and just be safe to cover your employees. You care about your employees.
We do,
You care
very
about
much.
customers that come in, and that's a big thing moving forward. I remember, like you said, Parade Day, St. Patrick's Day is big out here. This city block here that's dead right now is full of people during that.
Absolutely.
And you have many events that happen during the year. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Pearl Palooza, a lot of different things that happen every year that you guys are a very large part of.
We are.
But since the shutdown now, I saw that you guys did a lot of remodeling here too. I used to work here a while ago and again, come here for bigger events. And you've changed. You've put a lot of hard work yourself into it. You've been very busy since the whole shutdown before you restarted. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Well, after those first couple of weeks, we just realized this was going on longer than really we thought. So I needed to really do something. I just knew that if I didn't be constructive, I would not want to open up again. I would just get riddled with sadness and just emotion. So I decided to kind of channel it into our front bar section. We have a front bar, we have a dining room, we have our live music venue, which we're sitting in now. And I've always wanted to do the reno work on our front bar. I just never had the, honestly, time to do it because we couldn't afford to just shut down for a month or a couple of weeks and to bring a whole team of people in to just gut the entire front bar. So I literally started just with a hand sander. I have no business operating any type of sanders at all. One of our regulars came in, Brian Wilson came in and he showed me how to load it. And he helped me out a little bit initially, but I did that alone. I did that alone for 2 months. And the entire front bar, and even in this room, that sand travels.
Yes,
let me tell you.
People would be surprised. That's what I do for a living.
I know you do. I know you do. And you built our banquettes. I wish I could help out
more too. I did. I built some stuff for you, and I feel very proud of it. And I love everything you've done here. And I wish I could do more. But yeah, like she said, they are the trifecta here. I mean, you have the bar, which is up front a little bit here too, the restaurant section. A restaurant that offers not only just regular bar food, but top-of-the-line cuisine to where your chef has been recognized for awards, and vegan options.
Oh, yeah.
And then also the venue that you have here, which you have headliners here, top names, top acts were coming in here. I know Cold was supposed to play here.
Yeah,
and
national bands.
Had to cancel.
Yes, we do.
The trifecta, and it's tough that you guys had to take this sort of hit moving forward. It's talking about the menu here. What's the hot menu that everybody's grabbing nowadays on the menu?
Okay, so for our menu, it's definitely evolved. What we're really known for is that we bring people that are vegan to the extreme meat eater, and they can both sit together and find something amazing and just enjoy themselves. So that's what we are known for. I guess, honestly, our top selling sandwich, it's just been tweeted about and Instagrammed a ton. It's our Tennessee hot chicken sandwich. And that's also made vegan. And actually, I think the vegan sandwich, the vegan version of it, has been kicking the traditional chicken sandwiches butt. So definitely think about it, look into it, order it. We also we've partnered with a very interesting local company, this new startup called Capital Curbside. And they have partnered with Tech Valley Shuttle, and Tech Valley Shuttle, previously, prior COVID, they would pick up guests really from the Albany airport, bring them to the hotels, cart people around that were attending conventions, the many conventions that we constantly had here. So then all of these drivers, they didn't have work anymore. So Capital Curbside was eventually born. So what they are doing for us, they are helping us deliver our amazing food up to 20 miles away.
Wow. That is
so,
big.
and that's in any direction. So that's
incredible.
North, south, east, and west. And to get our food, listen, we are in downtown, right? So it's not the easiest spot always to get to unless, because previously this is a destination spot. So you come to downtown Albany for a show, you come to see, theater. There's all these different moving parts. And that was a tremendous part of our dinner business. All of this foot traffic. And
yeah, you
now
got Times Union Center right down the road
right
from
down
you.
the street.
Yeah.
Palace is over this way.
Palace is right. Yeah, that's right.
Your
That's-
sandwich
You're
right
like right
between
in
it.
the sandwich, yeah, right
Absolutely.
in the middle of it all. So you get a lot of traffic. Well,
We used
used to
to.
get all that traffic going back and forth, especially after concerts and stuff. Events over at Times Union Center, they would come walk right down. They're parked way down this side
That's
side
it.
of you. They'd walk down. Hey, let's go in there for a few
Couldn't
drinks,
even
get
get
some
a
food."
table. Couldn't
Yeah.
even get a table. You would
Shoulder to
sometimes we
shoulder.
would have like a 2-hour wait. That's the way things were.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we're trying to shift and pivot now. Sorry, we actually have a dining table over in the other room, and
No
we have
worries.
the CDTA driving by. Actually, it gets really funny. It was me and the CDTA driver. I would just wave. I would
you
wave
just
to
saw
them
them every time.
because
There you go.
I was in the front bar. I was in
Right.
this fishbowl,
Yeah.
and
Right.
it's so late at night, and
Yeah.
here I am, and we just waved to each other.
Yeah.
That was it, because we were the only signs of life,
Yeah.
honestly, down here
Absolutely.
during those dark days.
Yeah, and you don't have to apologize for that. I mean,
No.
the sound of people in here.
Yeah,
That's
it makes
what we
me
want.
happy.
That's what we want.
Absolutely.
We
That's
sure
not what
do.
I remember. This is not what I remember here about this place. I remember
No.
laughter, bands playing. Like you said, there's businesses up and down here. There's a hotel right there. So we get visitors. They would come over here. They would hear.
Absolutely.
See, this opens up. This is the stage area. You would have acts play here. You have the doors open in the summertime. People can hear the music. People hear the music, and they're like, "We're going to come in
just
there,
flock to
check
it.
it out."
Yeah.
I mean, this is what people are missing out on, and I think the fact that they have some of these other contact sports, close proximity things happening, events happening around the country, but yet music venues aren't able to open and still even go at half, population.
Yeah, it's a shame.
When even some other states have been able to do something like that, and why New York hasn't moved forward yet, it's something they should look into, and I think it's very important to everybody down here.
And
It
that's the
certainly
funny
is.
thing too, is I just want to bring up too, is Jim worked here, and then he got me a job bouncing here. So I can attest to how crazy it used to be. I was out there in the pits of the
were.
concert, Pearl-A-Palooza, tons of bands, tons of people. Also inside, all kinds of national bands right here on this very stage. And I would just stand right over off to the side of the stage and just survey everybody. So, at one point in time, it literally was like you couldn't even get in the doorway. And it's really sad to see now, fast forward to what we're going through at this time.
Absolutely.
That you look out right now and there's nobody really
Yeah, and it's
walking the
a
sidewalk.
Wednesday night, but I mean, there would be karaoke nights going on, open mics, still stuff going on around
absolutely.
here. And I want to touch upon, I said it earlier about the Pearl-A-Palooza. Like I said, this area has been on music
Yes.
for a long time. Like I worked down here for 10 plus years. So I've seen it all. We have a thing on Thursday nights in the summer, Alive at 5. City streets packed, down by the river, concerts, main, again, big, huge acts there, Blues Traveler, a bunch of them. And then Pearl-A-Palooza, which you guys have been a very big part of, too,
Yes.
and sponsoring. And even to the fact that you want to touch on being healthier, the vegan route, but yoga. You are very into yoga, and
I
you have
am.
Yoga Palooza that happens
Yes.
during the morning time of Pearl-A-Palooza,
Yes.
sponsored by MVP. They're there for
That's
it,
right.
and it's a whole huge event outside. On the street,
Right on the
closed off,
street.
people gathering together, enjoying things together that they love, and it's a change. You didn't have that this year, but tell us a little bit about that.
Well, let me just preface this and say, last year we had 558 people sign up. So that was last year, and that's what we had right on this street. 558 mats set up.
Amazing. That is
It
incredible.
is, and this is several years of building this event. The first year we had about 100, the second year we had 2, and the third year 558.
So you saw
And
the
so
growth.
we absolutely have, and we've partnered with the Hot Yoga Spot, whom I'm very close with the main owner, and she's been amazing. She has five studios that have been shut down up until just a week ago. This is only her second week open.
Oh my God.
And literally it's because the gyms that are in our state, they got together and they contacted legal action, and they had to start suing the state. That's the only way
wow,
to
yeah.
really get heard. That's the
Wow.
only way that anyone will take you seriously. Unfortunately,
Absolutely.
they were not given any guidance, just like independent venues still have not gotten any guidance. And that's what's been so painful. All we're looking for is just some guidance to safely reopen. I mean, honestly, if you can get on a plane and you're not socially distancing and you're wearing your mask for 10 hours straight, why can't we socially distance with people sitting, a very small group, and still be able to have music in this space? That is safer for 1 single hour of just having music, right?
Right, absolutely.
Than even flying to, Italy at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what we're asking the governor for. But as for our live events, I mean, we were so excited about it for this year. Pearl Palooza is virtual. There's nothing that we can do about it, but we are still doing it. It will be on this stage. We have several acts happening.
All right.
And then Yoga Palooza can be in person on a much smaller scale. We're doing it for 50 guests.
50
so
guests here.
Only 50.
Is that going to be here? Where is that taking place?
So it's going to be at Tricentennial Park, which is around the corner from us. It's right down the street. So if people are interested in coming in for maybe lunch afterwards, they're certainly welcome to.
Absolutely.
So that's the 19th of September. So that's
Excellent.
11 a.m. for Yoga Palooza, and then Pearl Palooza starts promptly at noon. And then you can go to WEQX's website.
Okay.
And
that's where they could see it streamed?
Yes,
through them?
correct.
WEQX?
WEQX, yes.
So they're going to go to their website. I'm guessing maybe WEQX.com possibly?
Yes, it is.
Ma'am. Yeah.
It is.
All right. So
you can just Google them.
Yeah, there you go. So that's
a very cool alternative. You know what I mean? To what we're going through, it's and that's what I like to see is like more businesses take different alternatives to keep going type of thing.
We are trying.
It's hard to do, but you guys are doing
is.
a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
You so much.
And it's showing how people can, during looking at adversity, find different ways to work around this and come together and make something happen. Like you said, the transportation company that ended up starting up Capital Curbside saw the way that they could stay in business, but then also help local establishments here and local companies get their services out to people. Again, because a lot of people still, despite going to the store where they have to do, if they don't, bars aren't really open to a huge mass down here and stuff like that. If they want your food, restaurant, you can just get it delivered. There you go. I don't have to leave anywhere.
Convenience.
And just get
you
what I want.
You don't even have to come in if you still don't feel safe, and we totally get that. This is at least something that will, benefit our customers. And they're not like DoorDash, right? Because DoorDash, many people do not know this. They take 30% of your order, plus they charge the customer a delivery fee and a service fee, and then take 30% from a decimated, COVID decimated restaurant.
Yeah.
I was sick of DoorDash. I can't stand
And that's good
them.
that you brought that up. That lets our viewers know
guys,
that
again, look into that.
To not go that direction.
If you can possibly avoid it, avoid them at all costs. They just are thieves and they take from us. So we were so gifted to really get Capital Curbside. I was so thrilled to find out about them. And so we were their first big restaurant to take a chance. And I remember what that felt like, just needing that big break.
Yeah.
I remember that. And so I wanted to do that for them, and it's really going well. So I urge everybody that is in this region to consider them. If you're a restaurant, consider taking them on, kicking DoorDash and Uber Eats off of your websites. Get rid of them. And
absolutely,
you really have to shop and support local.
Absolutely, definitely. We are broadcasting live from the Hollow in downtown Albany.
As you can hear.
Yes. Something alarm's going on down there, but it's something. It's activity down there. We saw some police happen down
There's
here.
Something.
But this is why we have the doors open, so you guys can really breathe the experience here.
It's amazing.
But a lot of stuff going on. Capital Curbside, if you guys want it, it's within a 20-mile radius, like you said, right?
Oh, yeah.
20-mile radius. You can get the delicious
incredible.
food here at the Hollow
really
Bar and Kitchen. And Pearl Palooza, September 19th, WEQX.com. And also, you guys are involved with the Red Alert Restart. Again, that's to get the venues going as well and save our stages. Where could somebody to go to help out with that, possibly to...
So honestly, you can just go on to their websites. It's saveourstages.com, we make events.org and save restaurants.
Right. Yeah. And we
just sign the petitions.
Yeah, absolutely. The petitions are there. You
Sign
fill out
the
all your information. It
petitions.
goes right to your local government and state government
Sure
to
does.
let them know that you care, that you want to see this. You want live music. You want to be able to congregate together and do it at a safe a distance and things like that. Well, Dora, we appreciate you joining us
you.
tonight. We could talk a little football for a second. Do you like any football teams at all?
I
or-
mean, Mike, as you know, Mike,
Yes.
Mike loves
Yeah.
football.
Yeah.
I don't know very, very much about it, but I, root for whatever teams that he enjoys.
Who does he enjoy? Does he follow anybody? Does
Oh
he
my God, he sure does. For football, tell me the New York teams: the Giants,
the New York Giants
and the
Jets,
Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo Bills, yeah.
Is he
He's a Bills fan.
Bills fan? Oh,
he's a
excellent.
Bills fan.
All right, that's good. That's good to hear because I
pretty
know
good.
his best
He's a
friend.
Bills fan.
Aaron Clark here. He is a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan. So
Oh, he is.
We frown upon that.
What kind of traitor is that?
Exactly. To live in New York and be a Dallas fan.
That
I get
doesn't
it.
surprise me
Yeah,
at all.
excellent.
That Aaron enjoys.
Yes.
That's his favorite. Not a
Excellent.
surprise.
Definitely excellent. So,
Hey, you know what
well,
else?
thank
Real
you.
quick, I
Yeah,
do
sure.
want to say if you are living in the Albany, New York area, capital region, or even if you're a little bit outside that area, please, I recommend you come down to the Hollow in downtown Albany. They have great food. And I'm not just saying that because we're here. They really do have great food, and there's even better people here. So please come and support if you can.
That's right.
Thank
and the
you.
police force and the fire department.
They're lining up
They
right outside.
are working for this city. They are right on top of it. So they might even stop right out here. There you go. They're there. So we definitely
They're stopping by for
appreciate-
I
some
wonder
food.
what's happening.
Yeah, look at we're getting
We
it all
don't
right
normally
here.
get this kind of action.
It's for us. It's just for
exciting.
us. This is the way our stream is.
Oh
just
dear.
happens.
It's because you guys are here.
But we
flashing
appreciate
lights.
it. So, do you know any of the football teams? Who won the Super Bowl last year?
Was it the 49ers?
They were
Close.
in it. They were close. They should have probably.
They
won
should have
that
probably
game.
won.
They had it. It's them and the Chiefs.
I love San Francisco.
Do
That's
you?
why I
Okay.
know
All right.
them.
So to pick the Super Bowl this year, right now, you go in San Francisco?
And opposed to who?
I don't know. Whoever. You don't need to pick who's in
San
it, but
Francisco.
who's San Francisco?
Oh
San
yeah.
Francisco to win it?
I am a coastal girl.
Excellent.
I
All right.
like the coast.
So we're
San
going
Fran.
49ers all the
There
way.
you go.
Yeah.
I like it.
I'm good with
That's
last
a
year.
solid pick. They were
They were
there.
they were
could
in the
go
Super
back.
Bowl.
I
They
just
should've
go
won.
by what just
What you're
my
hearing?
favorite cities. Yeah.
Excellent.
That's kind of what I do.
Do you do any fantasy football or anything? Or
You know what's
follow
so
any of that?
funny? Many years ago, 15 years ago, we used to live in the city, and Mike used to ask me during his fantasy, league things. He's like, "All right, just imagine," because I used to do this thing.
Right.
Just like imagine which one seems brighter to you, and I would tell him which team name. Just in my mind, I would kind of like meditate on it for like a second. And I would tell him, and that was the team that would end up
would
winning.
win.
And
There
he
you go.
got
There you
so
go.
far, he almost got to number one.
Wow.
Based on that intuition. It had nothing to do with
There you
football.
go.
I know nothing about football, clearly.
You charge for your
No,
service.
yeah, maybe we'll have her on weekly because
Yes.
we do our weekly picks in the
Yeah.
competition, and I beat him 2
Really?
years straight. But who knows? Maybe Joe should talk to the pick whisperer here.
I
you
don't
know.
know.
Maybe,
I
you know
would
what I'm
just
saying?
sit. I would get very still about it, and I would have both of the teams just enter my
Yeah.
mind. It sounds a little kooky, I guess, and I would just choose the one that felt brighter to me. And
There you go. I like
seemed
it.
to work,
Dora's
you know?
stone cold picks or something. The locks of the week. I like it.
I'm
I like
down.
it. I
I'm
like
down.
it. Excellent. Well, we thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us. Thank you for having us here at the
Oh, we're so
establishment.
excited
It's
to
great
have
to be
you.
back here,
Especially to be
And,
back on our stage, to have something happening on our stage.
Yes.
We are thrilled. So thank
That's
you
right.
for
Yeah.
coming in and doing all this.
Thank you
It's
very much for
wonderful.
having us. It's
Well,
awesome.
we
Thank you
absolutely
so
love you
much.
both. Thank you.
Excellent.
All
so
right.
much.
Bye, everyone. Thanks
All right,
for listening.
That's right. Dora Phillip, the owner of the Hollow Bar and Kitchen. Like I said, Capitol Curbside. You can check them out to get their food.
20-mile radius.
And Pearl
That's
Palooza,
incredible.
You can see it on
It really is.
WEQX.com. And the hollowbarnkitchen.com is probably your website
It is
too, right?
the HollowAlbany.com.
Albany.com. There
Yes,
you go.
and then you can online order
So
there.
that way you could see the menu, whatever you wanted to. Look it
Yes.
all over there too. One last thing before you go
Yeah.
again. I just figured it just popped in my head. I've never been here. I've never been here. All right? In your words, to get me to come, what is the Hollow to you? Describe the Hollow to me to make me say, I understand what this place is.
Okay, let's think. Let me just pause a second. We are just love. I mean, music, this is what we do. We just move people and we feed people, and we are just the essence of hospitality. and our people here are extremely seasoned, as you both know. We have no turnover. We treat our staff well, and we love what we do, and it shows. And you go on Yelp and Google and all of those sites, and you'll just see all of this amazing feedback. So we just welcome
Love.
people.
I like it. You can't go wrong with love. You know,
Can't.
everybody needs
That's
more
it.
love, especially nowadays,
That's
Joe,
us.
right? Absolutely. Again,
Thank
thank you so
you.
much for joining us. The Hollow Bar and Kitchen. That's right, Dora Phillip. Thank you so much.
Love you both. Thanks so much, guys.
Excellent. No
All
problem.
right,
We love you too.
continue.
Thank
All right.
you.
Excellent.
All right, so you know what? That's going to bring us up to our in the know fact of the day, Joe. Here we go.
What do we got?
Oh, I got a good
got
one
a good
for you
one?
here. I got a good one again. I dug deep here for this.
Let me
one
hear
here. I definitely went
Let
through
me
it. Check
hear
this
it.
out. All right, here on December 7th, 1963, Tony Verna, a producer directing the Army-Navy game for CBS Sports, first used instant replay. The first replay showed quarterback Raleigh Stitchway's touchdown run from a different camera angle.
Oh.
Instant replay was later used in the NFL and used to review plays, which we know now.
Right?
On September 7th in 1986, the Cleveland Browns became the first team in NFL history to have a play reviewed by instant replay.
Ooh, there
So
you
there you go.
That's some new and
Isn't
different
that?
knowledge.
That's a really in-depth here about instant replay. You know how much we complain about instant replay these days and stuff. So that's our
Yes, sir.
in the know fact of the day.
Yeah,
That's right.
there you
Yeah.
go.
All right. And so, yes, we are broadcasting live from the Hollow in downtown Albany. A lot of action
sir.
going on. It was. Now it seems like it's settled down a little bit. Something maybe going on at the hotel, but everything's good.
Little action.
We appreciate everybody in there with us tonight. Follow us on Facebook and YouTube and on Periscope. Feel free to comment out here. Whatever
be
you guys
shy.
want. You know, fantasy is starting here too. You don't getting going.
Yeah, okay, so
Joe
last
had his
week-
drafts last
Yep.
week.
Last week I had 2 drafts that I did. I personally run 2 drafts, one last weekend and one this upcoming weekend. But I had another draft with a buddy of mine this past weekend. Fairly successful, I feel like. I feel like I drafted pretty well, very well rounded, and I know, and I could see this. Okay, so I'm in my buddy's draft, right? And I noticed something is for even not necessarily new to fantasy, but they've been there for a couple of years, but they still feel the pressure to take the next guy on the list. Not, and some people do that, and that's what they're comfortable with, and I get that. But sometimes you kind of got to go outside the box once in a while. You almost have to try to project what that said player is going to do in your opinion for this upcoming season, because it's not going to be the same as last year. You know what I mean? Last season, we saw DeAndre Hopkins right up there in the top 3 in fantasy, and this year could be very different because he changed teams, he changed jerseys. Now he's in with the Arizona Cardinals. A lot can change now. He does no longer have Deshaun Watson throwing him the ball. I get it. They have a young, up-and-coming second-year quarterback in Kyler Murray, and there's a lot of buzz in Arizona because now they have Hopkins, and Hopkins going to go off again, but there's a lot more weapons around him down there. So you still have Larry Fitzgerald, old, reliable, still down there. He's going to get his catches. You have Christian Kirk, who's starting to come into his own his second to third year. Watch for him to make an impact as well. So there's a lot of mouths to feed in Arizona. So just because Hopkins is rated high, sometimes you got to sit and think to yourself, should I take him in the first round? Should I take him in the second round? Or do you kind of go off kilter there and grab a guy who may be a little bit lower than Hopkins? They have Julio Jones. I believe ESPN rankings have Julio Jones ranked as like 4th or 5th place in terms of receivers, but he definitely finishes in the top 3 like consistently almost every single year. So you got to kind of play all that information in your mind and try to project for the upcoming season. So, I mean, that's something that I feel people still struggle with.
Yeah.
Come draft day. I got 2 more drafts this upcoming. I usually like to do, for each draft, I like to draft a little differently for each one. Because sometimes, I don't know about you, Jim, I know you did fantasy in the past, but I just like, if I'm doing multiple drafts, I just like to have a little bit different of a lineup, a little bit different of a roster for each draft, so I have somebody fresh, someone different on my roster that I can plug in and play.
Yeah, I hear you there. There's different strategies everybody has all together. That's a good way to do it, too, because if you do it one specific formula, if it works and another way it doesn't work, you're covering yourself. You know?
Right.
One
Talk
question
about,
for you
hold
now.
on.
Sure.
Talk about formulas. This is one thing I'm getting away from, actually. I know a lot of people go in with a game plan. You know, they call that thing. Make sure you have a game plan going into the draft. But quite honestly, I've noticed, especially this season, I'm going away from game plans. I'm just going away from them. Usually, like, I'll go in and I'm like, I'm going to take first round, I'm taking running back, second round, I'm taking running back. So that way I get the running backs out of the way because they kind of de-escalate pretty rapidly after the first couple of rounds. So now, depending on where I'm picking, I'm letting the draft just come to me. I'm just going out there and I'm drafting basically, I'm using like a value. I'm basing it off of value mostly. So if I'm picking 7th pick in the first round and I'm just watching guys and I'm watching guys get picked, as it gets to me, I start to look at what I think is going to be available and who I think is the higher value in any given position. So, and where I can see maybe going forward where I could maybe get somebody else that I like a little bit later. So I'm going more for value now, not so much as a game plan where like I feel like I need to take 2 running backs earlier or I need to take a receiver and a running back or that sort of thing. So, so I'm changing it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think I agree with that method, too. I mean, that's always the way you do it. Best available. I mean, you never know, too. You could be dead set on a guy, and then the guy right before you ends up picking that guy, and then you have to already be ready to get your next pick in. You know what I'm saying? And the thing that bothers me a lot of times is the people that it comes to them, and it seems like there weren't 10, 11 people before them to pick, and then all of a sudden, like, I'm on the clock now. Let's see what we have now. What am I looking for? You had 11 guys go before you to find a guy, and you couldn't do it. Now we're waiting for you?
Yes. So perfect example. Exactly that happened in last weekend's draft with my buddy. So we're going through. You know, I picked pretty quickly. My buddy picks pretty quickly, and everybody else was doing. You know, they weren't taking too much time up. It was 30 seconds to a minute, and they were putting their pick in, and so things were kind of moving along, except for 2 guys. There was 2 guys in the draft that literally took way too long, and I'm talking not a minute, not 2 minutes. It felt like forever. It felt like 3 or 4 minutes went by before it even decided on a pick and put them in. So that
Nobody kill me!
and that's pretty much what I was thinking. Like you have to be prepared. That's one of the major critical things going into fantasy drafts. Do your homework. Do your homework beforehand. Print cheat sheets. Everybody does this. Everybody prints cheat sheets to go off of to see the players right in front of their face and they can make a selection. But go a step further. Don't just print the cheat sheet and then take it with you to the draft. Print it, look at it. Make a couple marks on guys that you like all the way along down the list. Guys that you don't like, cross them right off. You're not going to draft those guys. If you're not going to draft them, cross them right out. You don't even want nothing to do with them. Make little marks at guys that you're interested in, that you think that you can project that probably might have a comeback year or a breakout season. You know, make those little marks along down the list. You know, running backs and receivers, those are the critical things to hit. You need to have depth in those areas. If you don't, you're setting yourself up for failure in the future.
That is correct.
There you go. And I want to ask you this one thing. How about this? Everybody knows there's a guy that starts, like I said it last week, opens the floodgates for defense, or does that pick where you're almost looking at everybody else, like, does he know who he just picked? Like, well, did he just pick him early? All right. And I'm gonna ask you who it was. I'm gonna say, what was the surprise pick of the draft?
Oh, so
kind of.
Do you want me to give you one for my buddy's league and then one from one that I ran?
Yeah, that works.
Okay, so my buddy's league, to be honest, I would have to say that there was guys like Odell Beckham. Okay, Odell Beckham to me was picked a little too high. Defense was picked kind of fairly high. I mean, when you're talking about defenses and you're talking about players that pretty much failed last year because they just didn't have that production. They just didn't rack up points for you. They weren't consistent. Odell was a guy that was hurt again last season. So you got those are red flags. You don't want to keep continuing and like a broken record every year and think this guy is gonna just finally take it off. So guess what? My excuse is I think he's gonna have a comeback year, so I'm gonna take him early. No, you don't have to. A lot of people in your draft had the same summarization of that player. So like Odell, you see as a guy who's not really productive anymore. You see a guy who does still get injured. So why would you take him early? I feel like you could have got him in the lower tier rounds, mid to lower tier rounds, and he kind of went in the upper middle rounds, in that draft. So those are the questionable things. Or if you reach for a player like Sony Michel, that's another player that kind of went really high, and I'm like, has anybody paid attention to the New England Patriots running back depth? Because every single year we do this to ourselves. We say, this is going to be the guy. Sony's going to be the guy that's going to break it out. He's going to take it all the way from me. He's going to be the go-to guy there. No. Oh, wait. And then you got the other guy saying, no, James White. It's James White. James White is the go-to guy. He's going to kill it.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
That's why a lot of times
there's another running back. Oh, yeah, they got Rex Burkhead, who's more like a fullback, but he still gets the rock once in a while. They got Damian Harris, another young he's a rookie coming up into those ranks. He looks good in camp. So there's a lot of optimism with all these guys. And what happens with New England? Come on, guys. Come on. Tell me what happens every single year, guys, when we fall in love with one of these running backs. Guess what? 1 week, they kill it. The next two, it's like they're hardly playing. So they kill your team
week to week, and yeah, that's right.
Come on, let's be smart. Let's get rid.
That's why
don't draft them.
Just
don't
avoid
draft
a lot of New England Patriots, just like that for that specific manner. And what's it going to look like this season for New England now too, with Cam Newton under center, or is it going to be Jarrett Stidham? A lot of debate over that too as well. And look at the weapons that they have. They don't really have a whole lot going on, and it looks like they're going to be releasing Mohamed Sanu too. So that big question marks over there. So.
Yeah, so New England was weak at receiver anyways, and I feel like this is going to be more of a salary move. Mohamed Sanu, listen, the Patriots last year gave up a second-round pick for Mohamed Sanu. A second-round pick for a guy who's above 30. I think that's a little too steep. I think the Patriots got had on that deal, and now it sounds like, and we've heard reports as of tonight that it looks like they are going to release Mohamed Sanu. So they not only gave up a second-round pick last year for the guy, the Atlanta Falcons are like, thank you very much, but also, or 2 years ago, but also now they're releasing said player. So one, they didn't get the return value for him. They gave up a higher pick, and now he's not going to make the team.
Yep.
Poor decision-making.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, a lot of stuff going on in fantasy. If you guys have fantasy questions out there.
This just popped in my head real quick.
Sure, what's up?
So, in my other league, the league that I run, there was someone that took, get this. Now, how do you feel about Le'Veon Bell?
Again, I think I asked somebody, not you, but I talked to somebody out in public about this.
Right.
I asked him, where did he land? Because, again, I think he should drop back on everybody's list. There's a lot of question marks along with that team still. I know they got Mekhi Becton over there on the left side to help them out a little bit with running. But you got Frank Gore there. I don't think he's going to split carries with there. He's there for a little relief, I think. Yeah. Adam Gase has said he wants to get Le'Veon Bell more involved in the passing game, so maybe you'll see a few more touches. I think he'll do a little better than he did last year. But again, a guy that's a little bit of avoidable, a late sleeper pick. If he's still out there hanging around, you could get good value for him. Yeah. But he wouldn't be my number one. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, someone
drafted
like some
people
him.
Were picking him number one last year.
Somebody drafted him fairly high to be their running back 2 in fantasy, which is absolutely absurd. There was plenty of other candidates at running back at the time where they could have taken them and would have legitimately made sense. It's almost like they skipped over it. They're like, oh, I know that name. Le'Veon Bell, I heard that he's pretty good. I'm just going to take him.
It is pointless to resist.
And there was someone actually trying to help him out. There was someone saying,
"Hey, to help him," or were they trying to say, "Yeah, go get it"?
No. They were actually trying to help him out by like, I don't think that's it. I think you should pick someone else. I think you should pick someone else. take the hint. You should probably
Yeah.
pick someone else. And they still just wouldn't
And he
listen.
was probably like, he's trying to throw me off.
Exactly.
So no,
exactly.
I'm not gonna listen.
Sometimes you play
That's the
those
way it is.
games. I mean, let's come on, guys. We all know that we play little games, a little trickery here and there when you're talking to your buddies. But nonetheless, he was stone cold about it. Just went up there and still picked Le'Veon Bell.
Absolutely.
And
Michael
now,
Guerrero's
we'll see.
in the house tonight. Let's give a
going on,
shout out to
Mike?
him. Good show,
Welcome
guys.
to the
Go
show,
Raiders.
brother.
He's a Raiders fan. If you see Raider Bear, tell him we said hello. It was a pleasure having Raider Bear
That's
on
right.
with us
That's right.
and everything.
Always a pleasure.
He'll probably be on a little later. But yeah, it's interesting. Fantasy's getting
crazy.
going.
It's
It's a lot of
crazy.
question marks. Who drafted Leonard Fournette and now he's jobless?
Okay, so in my buddy's draft,
Yeah.
I ended up taking Leonard Fournette, but not as a starter.
Yeah.
This is the beauty. I got Leonard Fournette as like my third,
I guess
fourth running back.
your value
so
steal pick.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
You know, that was a value pick. Now, let's see where he ends up because you know he's going to join another team. You know he's probably, if a team that really needs, think about it, guys. Teams that really could use running backs right now. We look at Darius Guice, who left the Washington football team. There's a team that could really use Leonard Fournette's services.
Yes.
And also, look at Tampa. That to me just screams signing. It just says scream signing. Get Leonard Fournette in a Tampa Bay uniform, and that just makes that offense that a lot of people feel is going to be super scary now even scarier because then they have a legitimate running back ready to go and be the feature guy. You know, Leonard Fournette can do everything. He can run. He can catch. We do know, and we've seen his past history, he does tend to get injured, but the one thing is he's managed to stay somewhat healthy this past year. This still got banged up, but stayed mostly healthy throughout the year. You got to see some impactful plays of him. I mean, just flat out breaking tackles, making people miss, you know, running right down the sideline on a little pass, an option out pass to him. And then now you put him in Tampa. Think about this. You put him in Tampa right now. You got Ronald Jones III, which that's really their go-to guy if they don't get anybody, and still hasn't proven himself. But you get Leonard Fournette in that spot. You got Mike Evans. You got Chris Godwin. You got tight ends galore with Rob Gronkowski, Cameron Brate, O.J. Howard. What's not to love there? You have all those weapons there. So what does that do to a defense? It just thins them out. They can't double team everybody. So they got to pick their poison with the receivers, and then you hand the ball off to Leonard Floyd. Whoo!
Leonard Fournette, you mean?
Or Leonard Fournette, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would be dangerous if that happens. It's got to happen, right? It just screams.
There's a few options out
it
there that need
screams
running
it.
back, so I mean it's something to look forward and look into. Speaking of Leonard Fournette, we will be talking AFC, NFC South here. We're doing our previews. It is the last week of this. There is only 8 days until the Super Bowl.
I'm so excited.
Until the NFL
I
season
can't wait.
starts. We are broadcasting live from the Hollow Bar and Kitchen here in Albany, New York. Downtown, we have the doors open here. It's lovely out there. It's a beautiful night. There's people out front
having a good time.
Their night tonight.
Yeah, we can
enjoying
hear 'em, yeah.
themselves. We definitely had a good time. We talked to Dora Phillip earlier, the owner of the bar, Hollow Bar and Kitchen. It's always a good time talking to her again and showing support for our local businesses here.
Right,
That you
right.
should support these guys. Come in, check out their food, do something different. Anybody can go to a chain restaurant. Anybody can go, to get fast food here and there and use
True.
the DoorDash because that's what you hear, that's what you see.
It's
But
convenient.
there is a local company here called Capital Curbside who is delivering their food here and some others amongst the capital region within a 20-mile radius. So that, for
Think
us,
about
that
that.
covers a lot. Like back where I
That's-
live, all the way up to Clifton Park. If you guys
That's
don't
a pretty
know,
long distance.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I'm saying?
It's
you
unheard
can get
of.
it from, a while. So, and you don't have to leave your house. It's just there. And
No.
they don't charge you the extra fees, hidden fees that DoorDash and all those guys are doing. Grubhub. Look into that stuff. So check it out. The Hollow Bar and Kitchen. That's right. So let's get into our AFC South divisions here, Joe. It started off with the Houston Texans now. Houston Texans made it pretty far in the playoffs last year. They had that resting period. They go and they had the Chiefs on the ropes. It looks like they were doing everything right. I mean, they were blocking punts, dude. It was going absolutely lights out for them. And then the second half happened, and bad play calling, just
Bill.
poor execution. Bill O'Brien again
Bill
fails
O'Brien.
his team miserably again, and then they promote him to team president and would start making
GM.
executive decisions.
GM.
And my first order as executive decisions here, and I am going to trade away
The
DeAndre
best
Hopkins,
receiver-
our best wide receiver that we have, because he has too much pull with all of our players in the locker room. Nobody wants that.
He's a
Nobody
team
wants any of
captain.
that, and you're going to trade him away. Didn't even get a first-round pick, and you get David Johnson, who hasn't really produced in 2 years or so. Coming off of that injury, he hasn't been the same guy that he was for that one spark
No.
of a season. So that's their first executive order that you make. Let's think about that. And then that says, go ahead, promote that guy.
Atrocious.
That is not a great business decision. They're staying with this guy too long, and we have this season here to show for it. What is he going to do? I think he is going to be on the hot seat this season.
You think?
And he might not even make it to the end of the season here.
He shouldn't even have been there
I
last
almost
season.
guarantee that he gets fired before the season even might end because of COVID. So,
How you
there's
doing?
CDTA, they're looking for you out there, Dora.
So I mean,
CDTA.
that's the craziest thing is Bill O'Brien. He has no way can he stay in Houston. We were clamoring for his firing 2 years ago, not last season. 2 years ago, we saw the writing on the wall. We saw that the change was happening. Too many bad decisions as a coach. Too many bad decisions now as a GM. Are you kidding me? You get rid of one of the best receivers in the league, and for what? For peanuts and a guy who hasn't been healthy in like 5-6 years. The guy ever since he ended up in the despite his rookie year or maybe 2 years of his career, he hasn't been on the football field. He's constantly injured. How can you keep him there? It's absolutely ridiculous. He should have been fired years ago. And until his reign ends, this organization, this team going into the season is going to struggle mightily going forward. I just can't believe it. And now you also, on top of that, is now you have a change of roster. So now you bring in Brandon Cooks, who's kind of been a cast off of a couple teams now. He's seen more of just like a deep threat. They don't really utilize him that much in the overall route tree, and I'm hoping that Houston does differently with him. But nonetheless, you have Will Fuller coming back for yet again another season. Now he's finally healthy again. He's just due to get injured once again. Tremendous talent, but always gets hurt, can't help the team. So you wonder how long he's going to last this year. You also got the likes of Randall Cobb, a guy in my mind that is just washed up at this point in his career. He's not the same that he used to be and never will be going forward. So can he still catch the ball? Obviously, but he's just not that dynamic of a receiver. And we can just project right now. Will Fuller's going to be hurt by halfway through the season. He's going to miss some significant time with something, and then Brandon Cooks will be the sole guy that Deshaun Watson is going to end up trusting, and they're just going to be limited. They do have Kenny Stills, but he's again also seen as just a deep guy, just a guy that just runs deep and tries to get open. So lack of diversity in the receiving core. You're missing out on a Pro Bowler, could be Hall of Fame type receiver, and DeAndre Hopkins is no longer there. Deshaun Watson's one of his closest friends. He was extremely, and I mean extremely aggravated when that move was announced. And now you see what he's left with. He's left with guys that have never made the big difference on any team they've been on. Will Fuller constantly injured. You look at now David Johnson is going to try to make an effort to stay healthy. It's only a matter of time until he's probably going to get injured, which means then they probably won't have a running back.
Or go to Duke Johnson again, who has stuck with the team and been there, but not as a true number one.
But Duke
his
is a
whole career.
receiving, and that's the thing. Duke is one-dimensional, really. He's a receiving back.
Absolutely.
He can't take the rock and run in between the tackles full time. It's just not going to happen. And then you look at their defense. Everyone can say, oh, well, the J.J. Watt's coming back again healthy. That's great. That's great, guys. But how long is J.J. going to be healthy? He's got a bad back. He's got a bad forearm. He's got bad biceps. There's a lot going on with this guy. He's not getting any younger. So how long will this guy end up? They take a rookie in Ross Blacklock. I wasn't extremely excited about this guy coming out. Yeah, do I think he has talent? Sure. But do I think he's going to come in and just kind of be a super dynamic player where DJ Reader was the D tackle, now gone? He's on a different team right this second. So that's another big loss, I feel like. You do have plenty of linebacking depth, but then you look at the secondary. I mean, come on. I mean, you got Gary and Conley still starting at corner. There's a reason why the Raiders traded him away. He's still there. They go ahead and they sign Vernon Hargreaves. He couldn't stay locked down in Tampa, and they needed help at corner at the time. So it's just a matter of time. This team, I feel, is getting more and more holes year in and year out, and Bill O'Brien, I'm sorry, is not going to be your savior.
I agree with this. I think last year was their pinnacle of the success. He's been able to have this team together for a while with the strength that they've had. Now they have their quarterback, and now he had just traded the farm away, let Carlos Hyde walk away, and now this team is going to take a step back, I feel, this season. Watch for that, and they'll be out of, I think, the talks of Super Bowl contention. But moving forward, let's look at the Indianapolis Colts now. The Colts, again, they were bitten by the injury bug last year, not being able to have their starting quarterback to where Andrew Luck came back, and it took a few weeks, and it looked like he was going to be
starting to get better. Yep.
Andrew Luck possibly, and then comes last season, and 2 weeks or so before the season started, he says, I'm hanging it up. I'm calling it quits. I'm done.
He can't do it.
Really short term. So then they're struggling, and Jacoby Brissett has shown that he can play, but he is not, I think, still in that elite status, and they're looking for that guy, that true franchise quarterback.
That's the thing, is he lost confidence. Like, the team lost confidence in Jacoby Brissett. And I'm sorry. I'm going to stick up for Brissett on this. They lost confidence in him. He was pretty consistent. He's not elite. No, we all know that. He's a backup quarterback. But he's consistent. And if you got consistency and you got guys around him that can help him with that offense, he didn't have guys. T.Y. Hilton got hurt, done for the season, so he was gone. He really had nobody after that. They had Zach Pascal, who kind of emerged out of the ashes and took on a role that wasn't originally his and started to make great plays. And now, now it seems like they've taken. Now they got T.Y. Hilton back, and now they've drafted a receiver in Michael Pittman Jr. And now Zach Pascal's still there, and Paris Campbell also was banged up last year. Now he comes back healthy again. So you're starting to see that the weapons are returning back to Indy here, and who is going to be throwing the ball? It's not going to be Brissett. So Brissett doesn't even get a chance to redeem himself and say, hey, if you give me weapons, I can show you that I can be that guy. But unfortunately, they moved on from him.
Right, and I think nowadays, especially, and I might sound a little aged or dated here, but a lot of people don't know Phillip Rivers for the quarterback that he even was back maybe in his prime, or back when he had LaDainian Tomlinson, making it further in the AFC playoffs.
Antonio Gates.
Yeah,
the core three.
Performing. They always see him as a turnover machine on times here, but really what has the team been able to do for him with staying healthy? Offensive line has been, up and down.
Mostly
if you're
down.
hurried like that, you don't have options to give it to your wide receivers to get it out there. You know what I'm saying? If the pressure's getting there so fast, wide receivers can't get open. So who are you throwing it to? You force a ball you don't want to, and then there you go.
Right.
Ends up being your turnovers.
But isn't that the most incredible thing about Phillip Rivers is when he was with the Chargers, and we talk about weapons, he didn't have weapons. Like we mentioned some big names when he had LaDainian Tomlinson and Vincent Jackson and Tony Gates in his prime. He had 3 guys. In offenses nowadays, you see 4, 5, 6 guys that are all dynamic players, and that's really what he needed, that and a really good offensive line. Always has had a poor offensive line, like piss poor, like terrible, and has been limited on weapons to throw to throughout his entire career in San Diego, which, yes, that's what they used to be called, everybody, the San Diego Chargers, and now the L.A. Chargers since they moved. So as much as everybody wants to point out, well, he throws a lot of picks and he does a lot of this, he's trying to do too much because he doesn't have the complete offense to work with. So you look at, his past, the recent past, what did he have there? He had Melvin Gordon. Okay. He had Austin Eckler backing up Melvin Gordon. That's a pretty nice backfield, right? But what do you have for receivers, guys? Can you name one that was like a dynamic receiver? Probably not, because a lot of them were either injured. Keenan Allen, you can throw that name out, but Keenan Allen was injured quite often with Phillip Rivers there. And except for the last two seasons Phillip was there, where Keenan Allen stayed healthy, he had to throw to the likes of Ingram and Tyrell Williams and guys that you would not talk about in the elite status or in the upper echelon of receivers, in the spotlight. So this poor guy had always had a poor offensive line, had limited weapons, and now he's going to a team right now where you can make an argument that they're the best offensive line, if not one of the best offensive lines in the entire league. And yeah, he might not have super elite talent across the board in terms of receivers, but you do have T.Y. You can hang your hat on that. If T.Y. can stay healthy this season, he's going to be the number one guy, and you got to watch out for him because he is dynamic even though he's a little older. And they have a rookie who they really do love in Michael Pittman Jr., Paris Campbell, another young stud, and I really do like Zach Pascal, so I hope that he kind of gets involved too. And not to mention, Jim, talk about the running backs that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Marlon Mack, who again, if he could stay healthy for a full season there, very productive as well. But since he hasn't been here and there,
go ahead, make your
Nyheim
point.
Hines has been able to fill up that spot. And they go and get Jonathan Taylor in the draft. A lot of people were high on Jonathan Taylor, wondering where he's going to go. Lands in Indy now. This is a wonderful spot. You can highlight him here and there. He is one of those Swiss Army knives of a running back, and Phillip Rivers has him to utilize absolutely. Plus the tight ends, Jack Doyle can be another highlight in this offense, and Trey Burton comes to the team. They move on from Eric Ebron, and now he's there too. I think they're going to get the tight ends involved here as well. So a lot of weapons here for Phillip Rivers.
Yep.
A better offensive line, hands down.
Close.
So now they have their quarterback that they think they needed, and the defense. Justin Houston now with the team. I mean, this defense is dangerous. A lot of people aren't talking about them. This team was banged up a bit last year, didn't have the quarterback to lead them through, but this team is a silent weapon here that people are not talking about, and watch them creep up this year.
For sure. And you talk about a scary defense, and here's the thing is Justin Houston, he was there last season due to free agency, but the biggest add this season was they pulled off a trade. They traded a first-round pick away, and they got DeForest Buckner from the 49ers at D-tackle. I mean, that right there is going to hugely impact an already young D-line. You add DeForest Buckner now, one of the best D-tackles in football, to this team. This is really kind of spicing it up. And then you talk about the linebackers. You got Darius Leonard, a Pro Bowl linebacker, and he's super young. It's insane how his rookie year he didn't get the award, but he should have been Defensive Rookie of the Year. Like, he was absolutely incredible. So he's going to continue his amazing career. Anthony Walker, another guy who was injured last season, a young stud that they have in their linebacking core. Also, the other thing, too, is they've always been talked about, like, their corners get banged up. They don't have very good corners. The one thing I'll say is I really did like when they drafted Rock Ya-Sin. I think he's going to turn out to be one of those very solid, close to being really good type of corner for them for years to come. And the only question mark that I will say is TJ Carey's on the opposite side. He's penciled in right now as a starter. Maybe it's a scheme fit. Maybe he's going to play better than he has on other teams in the past. But I still feel like that's a little bit of a weakness. And let's not forget, ex-Minnesota Viking Xavier Rhodes, a guy who has kind of drastically de-escalated, his production as a cornerback. He once was seen as a absolute shutdown corner in Minnesota, and now it seems like Father Time is creeping up on him, and it looks like he struggled mightily the last 2 years with Minnesota. He ends up coming over to Indy, maybe trying to revitalize his career. Let's see what happens there. And at safety, and this is pretty crazy to me, but Malik Hooker, who's been with the team for the past 2 seasons, has shown promise, has shown that he can handle the job, that is a really good safety for them. But there were rumors this past offseason that they were looking to move on from him.
Absolutely,
And if that didn't happen, but if it did, who are you replacing him with? There's nobody there right now that's proven. I just felt that was a little odd, but luckily he's still there. He's going to play this season for them. So they are a very young group on defense, but I feel a very underrated group. So watch out for them this coming season, paired up with now a definite slam dunk franchise type quarterback in Phillip Rivers. This is going to be exciting to see where this team ends up. Now they have some, now they're all healthy again. Now they have an improved quarterback. And they have an up-and-coming rookie in Jonathan Taylor, who I was one of those guys. I was tooting his horn. I was saying this is definitely the number one running back for me, in my opinion, coming out of this draft. I just love bigger backs. So Jonathan Taylor, to me, he has speed. He has everything. He can block. He can catch. He can do it all. A lot of people will criticize him for not catching the ball too well in college or something like that. They didn't even throw the ball that much. Wisconsin, they didn't even utilize Jonathan Taylor like that. Now you're going to see him in the NFL, and I'll tell you right now, I have no worries about his catching ability. One interesting thing, too, is in fantasy drafts, just to touch on this, they have Jonathan Taylor rated really high, and Marlon Mack is really low. And I find that a little I'm just curious. Why are they ranking Marlon Mack, who we thought was going to be the starter for this upcoming season, to now Jonathan Taylor? Looks like fantasy has other ideas. They're just thinking Jonathan Taylor is going to take the job right away and run with it. So we'll have to wait and see how that all shakes up as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's something to look forward to. I know everybody follows the fantasy. We'll see how it happens moving forward. A lot of people, again, wondering where he was going to go. I know some people around here that watch our show thought maybe Buffalo would look onto him with a nice 1-2 punch with Montgomery, things like that. We'll see what happens. It's Devin Singletary, sorry. So we'll see. We'll see moving forward with that team. I'm very high on the Colts. All right, let's move on next to the Jacksonville Jaguars here, a team now that just lost Leonard Fournette. We were just talking about that. They go and
I got to say something.
Sure.
You brought up Leonard?
Yeah.
Because guess what?
What's up? Did he find a home?
Tampa did it.
Tampa
signed Leonard Fournette.
We were just talking about
it. Right on the show. You guys heard it here, know-it-alls.
There you go.
We said that was a team. It just made all the sense in the world. He is now a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. He is going to be playing with Tom Brady. And this looks like impressive offense. Revamped offensive line. They took a high draft pick to play that right tackle spot in Tristan Wirfs. So that looks really promising. You look at the weapons that Brady's going to throw to. They all look really good in camp. And I get it. Everybody's going to say they all look good in camp. But they still, nonetheless, we know what Chris Godwin can do. We know what Mike Evans can do. And now that you have Tom Brady there, a more dependable, more reliable quarterback, taking the torch now in Tampa, that team does look dangerous.
It's a story of a man named Brady.
That's right, there in Tampa Bay, adding to the weapons that they have.
Woo!
There you go. And everybody
Look at
asks,
that.
they do not have a running game really. Maybe now they could show signs of a running game here with that team. I think that maybe even heighten some people's expectations here now.
It might. No, it might, for sure.
I don't know about Super Bowl. I mean, a lot of people, I think your expectations now should be just focus on the division, try and take the division.
Right.
Because we saw that team play fairly well even with Jameis Winston last year. Just mistakes is what killed that team.
Winston
shot themselves in the foot. He did at times too, but then some other just really
missing field goals,
dumb mistakes here and there. Yep, where they're out of it. Now let's talk about the team that just cut him, who has been having their own issues. Where they had tried to blame it on Tom Coughlin. It was some other the toxic environment that the certain players were I guess having. So they get rid of Jalen Ramsey, a bunch of these guys. Yannick Ngakoue finally finds a home too. They trade him away. They were able to get trade bait for him and get him away.
They really just got nothing.
I know, basically nothing. But they're saying that Leonard Fournette, there was absolutely nothing. Nobody.
Come on.
So he goes to Minnesota. So he is probably happy. Now Leonard Fournette's happy. I think everybody that leaves Jacksonville just ends up going to their happy place. You know what I'm saying? It's like they go away. Ramsey goes to the Rams and everything and stuff like that. And it's like the gates of heaven have opened up. and they're just like, oh, this is the way it should be. This is the way a team should be run.
Yeah.
Now,
Clear head. Cool, calm.
Yeah, so now, they moved on. Nick Foles no longer there. He's with Chicago. They've got Minshew. Minshew Mania now can continue once again.
Everybody get your mustaches ready.
Yeah, they bring in Mike Glennon now, so they basically swapped quarterbacks here. Mike Glennon's in the backset to just cover him, and just in case. They have Chris Connolly on the squad now, too. So if you look at this wide receiving core, it is completely different. Just about. Except for, you got Day-Day Westbrook and Keelan Cole there, here and there. But they've got a lot of different faces here. DJ Chark, we've talked about this guy for the last 2 weeks, or 2 years. This guy just needed to he had the big play marketability, just needed to work on the focus on the catching. Last year he came out and it must have been putting the work in, gets it done, and actually produced and did well. And now they're here, I think, in full rebuild mode. I think this team went from just a few seasons removed from the AFC Championship game with Blake Bortles at the helm to now they have gone full restart.
The thing is, they still had the same receivers for the past couple of years. Chris Conley's been on this team. DJ Chark, like you were saying before, DJ Chark just had to grow into himself. He had to get rid of the drops. He had to improve on that. He worked his tail off in the offseason two off seasons ago, and really came out like a gangbuster, and started making all the catches, even difficult ones, easy ones, you name it. He just kind of exploded onto the scene, made a difference for Jacksonville, just couldn't do enough for them to win games because one guy can't do it all. Chris Conley also kind of came on. He played actually admirably well for a guy who was kind of like a cast-off from Kansas City. Nobody thought that. They thought he was going to be done and out of the league really quickly, and he kind of turns, the leaf over here in Jacksonville and revitalizes his career. Now he's a number 2 wide receiver on there, and a productive one at that. They also pull off in this past draft. They drafted Laviska Shenault Jr., who I am high on, but only if they use him in the correct spot. I really do think Laviska reminds me of a poor man's Anquan Bolden. He's a very strong, very physical type of receiver. He's quick, but not super fast, much like what Bolden was. So I do think that if they move him to the slot and pair him up with Conley and DJ Chark, I think that's going to create a lot of opportunities for all three of them, and it's going to be, defensive mismatch mania. So we also talk about Minshew and how now he returns to the starting limelight. Listen, he doesn't have to look over his shoulder anymore. Nick Foles isn't standing behind him waiting to take the job away from him anymore. It's his job. It's his team. He knows it. I think that he's not only worked his tail off in the offseason, but he's also he wants to make a point when the season starts that he's going to come back and let everybody know that he is the guy for Jacksonville. Another interesting thing, too, is much like their offensive line was really heavily banged up last year. Guys like A.J. Cann was injured. Brandon Linder also had nicks and bumps along the way. Andrew Norwell was done for the year. It looks like their whole entire starting O-line was gone at some point in time throughout the season, and now they're getting everybody back healthy. The chemistry's still there with Minshew and Chris Conley and DJ Chark. Let's see what happens with this young kid, Laviska Shenault. And as far as running backs now, because now Leonard Fournette's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of like a mixed bag. I definitely could see this turning into a running back by committee, especially with how late they've decided to move on from him. And another thing, it was almost like, Doug Marrone and company were kind of like trying to give him the big FU by releasing him this late, right when the season's is only 8 days away. Almost hoping that he doesn't find a team that quickly. You know what I mean? So now you got guys like Chris Thompson came over from the Washington football team.
Yeah, I think that's a nice little weapon that they have. He's done well with Washington.
When he's healthy, he's an absolute dynamic receiving threat out of the backfield. But as far as a feature back, I don't know if he can handle that kind of aspect. But they do have Rykel Armstead, a young running back who looked good in training camp, and James Robinson, who I've heard a lot of accolades on his vision and how well he reads holes and that sort of thing. So you have kind of like a mixed bag now in the running back department. Who's going to start? I don't think anybody's going to really start as a feature back. I see this more of like rotation going into the season this late, and maybe somebody carves out that starting job along the way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So let's see what happens
and
moving
defense
forward with them.
Defense. Jacksonville used to have a good defense. Used to have a great defense. Now
They
you
have
look
some
at this
great
team.
players still on that team.
Now
but-
you look at this team. They're a lot different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the biggest losses isn't Jalen Ramsey.
Right.
It isn't, a guy like Telvin Smith who retired.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the biggest losses is Calais Campbell, believe it or not.
Yep.
An absolute monster, at D tackle / D end. The guy that was literally, he's a mountain of a man, but man, he is older, so you would think, he's got to be declining, right? He's still playing miraculously well. I mean, for his age. He's just an absolute monster. So he leaves. That leaves a huge void now in the middle with this D-line. You look at guys like Aubrey Jones, it now looks like he's going to be the starter. Taven Bryan, who's been on this roster for quite some time. They drafted him in the first round in 2018. So not long removed from his first-round status, but couldn't find the football field because they just keep getting other talent in there. So now let's really see if Taven Bryan is worth that first-round pick. Let's see if he can make a difference. And then as far as pass rushers go, they traded Yannick. Yannick's not there anymore on one side. All they really have now is Josh Allen, who they just took in 2019. And he does look like the real deal, but nobody to help him on the other side. So that's a huge hole. And linebackers, they did draft Kalavon Chason, a highly touted rookie from LSU. They look like they're going to put him at the strong side linebacker spot. He's going to rush off the edge, I feel like, kind of like what Josh Allen did this past year. And, Joe Schobert, if you're a Cleveland Brown fan, you know this name really well. Joe Schobert is like a Pro Bowl middle linebacker. Was in free agency. Jacksonville just kind of jumped at the chance. They pulled him right in right away to team him up with Miles Jack in the young rookie. And then cornerback. You're like, well, okay, A.J. Brown left in free agency. He's no longer there. Ramsey's been traded. So now what the hell are they going to do? Well, in the first round this past draft, they drafted corner and C.J. Henderson. But here's the thing. He's unproven. He looks like he's the real deal, but, hey, a lot of those high draft picks look like the real deal. He's still got to prove it. If he isn't the answer for this secondary, this team could really falter heavily in the season.
Absolutely. It's a division that's be very close, I think. There's a lot of big names, and if everybody stays healthy, I think this is a division that you should watch closely. Let's move on to the Tennessee Titans now. Again, a team that went in as the wild card and went in and took out the Patriots, which a lot of people think couldn't happen, but Mike Vrabel knows the way that Bill Belichick plays and studies the rule book just as much as Belichick does, obviously, too, because he played a little game there with them, and it benefited to his team and move forward. But then when they get further in the playoffs, they had some struggles here and weren't able to move forward. So now let's look at this team again. Kept a lot of the same guys here together, so it's a lot of the same nucleus of this team moving forward, minus Deion, was it Jones? I can't remember. Whatever. The running back there. Can't remember his last name.
Oh, yeah. Deion Lewis.
Deion Lewis.
He went to the Giants.
Yeah, he went to the Giants, so you're minus him. But, I mean, yeah, thank you. Exactly. So, I mean, we saw, talk about emerging wide receivers, A.J. Brown last year. People, instead of waiting on Corey Davis to finally do something, A.J. Brown emerges from the ashes, and it seems like that's the number one here target for Ryan Tannehill. And Derrick Henry, finally utilizing Derrick Henry like we've been telling you that you probably should have been doing it.
Yeah,
you know
they
what I'm saying?
Shouldn't they have done it earlier, though?
And it surprised people. People all of a sudden, who is this Derrick Henry guy? We've been telling you about this guy for a while. They finally utilized him the way they were instead of leaving him locked into Wildcat, able to produce here and be your feature back. And there you go. You're moving forward. They're building this defense. A lot of the same type of Patriots here is doing it the Patriots way as well. You get some guys here that were a bit injured in the playoffs here last year, but now they're back with this team. So that's even scary here on the defensive end. So they're an interesting team moving forward in this upcoming season here, Joe.
And you mentioned defense. One of the biggest keys for this defense is, as good as they were last year, everybody kind of almost forgot. I don't know how you do, but Adoree Jackson and Malcolm Butler, both their number one corners, they didn't even play. Just think about that. They didn't play. They missed almost the whole entire season last year, and their defense was that good. Now they're coming back this year. They're coming back with a vengeance. You look at a lot of this defense is pretty darn young and scary. They fly around sideline to sideline. They make plays. They make great tackles. They pick the ball off. You got guys like Kevin Byard at safety, a Pro Bowl safety, and to team him up with guys like Malcolm Butler and Adoree Jackson, 2 shutdown corners. I mean, this secondary it looks amazing.
What I liked about this defense here, don't mean to interrupt, but they played all 4 quarters against the Patriots, rather. They didn't just go to, like, say, a prevent if they had a lead or here and there. They continued to do the same game plan.
And why
right
is
into
that,
the last bit?
It's because their coach knows when you play New England, when he plays his ex-team, he knows that he can't give up. He knows they're not going to give up until it's 000 at the end.
Absolutely, to so much that when they had him pinned against the line, people were thinking that Tom Brady's last play of his career might be that pick 6. Think of that he threw.
Yeah.
That was his last play that he had with the Patriots right there. Pick 6.
Yeah.
So think about that.
And the other thing, too, is they added to this defense. They added Kenny Vaccaro at safety to team up with Kevin Byard, to team him up with this secondary. I mean, absolutely nuts. We know that they got a good pass rush. Now they got a pretty darn solid secondary. This team could do a lot of damage against offenses this upcoming year. And when we talk about offenses, I know a lot of people are kind of pointing their finger at Ryan Tannehill, and they're saying, well, we've seen this happen before. We've seen Ryan do really well in Miami, and then he just kind of like forgot how to play. He just fell apart. He just couldn't get it done. But I would also point that when Adam Gase took over, it seemed like Ryan Tannehill couldn't get it done. It just seems awfully funny, and now we see the same thing happening in New York with the Jets. It seems like Adam Gase took that team over, and they just haven't gotten any better for some reason. I get it. Ryan Tannehill did get injured. I understand that, and he was done for one of the years that Gase was there. But now Tannehill has proven to us, you give him weapons, you give him a decent offensive line, he can make you pay. And not only in the air, but he also can run the ball too, which makes him dangerous as well.
Absolutely. They got that deal done. He is locked in. Derrick Henry's locked in. So moving forward with them, it's going to be an exciting season, hopefully, as long as everybody stays healthy. All right, so let's go down to the picks now, Joe, here. Let's take a look at your picks for the AFC South. And we have the Tennessee Titans taking to the division. You had them here taking to the division.
I've made some friends, and I've made a lot of enemies.
There you go.
That's it.
Oh, look at that. And
That's right. That's right.
You have the Houston Texans down at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
Man, down at the bottom.
Yeah, I just there's too much change, and when you have a guy running your team, not only as a GM but also as a head coach in Bill O'Brien, I got no faith in this team right now. You got rid of DeAndre Hopkins. You got David Johnson now as your starting running back for probably 4 weeks, and then you got Will Fuller, who you know can't stay healthy. Once he goes down, that's going to dramatically change your offense, how it's ran. And I don't know, with an aging J.J. Watt, with guys, with cornerbacks that just can't get it done in the secondary, I just find it hard to believe that Houston is going to be as dominant as they were down the stretch last year.
Wow, yeah, there you go. You've got the Colts moving up. Jacksonville, a third even over top of the Houston Texans.
I like the potential that they got.
Wow, I mean, that is interesting.
Colts, I mean, they got a solid quarterback now. Great offensive line. Everybody's healthy again for the Colts. I look for them to make a run on this division. And Tennessee Titans, they didn't really lose anything except for right tackle, but gained in health. So I think that they are going to be still consistent as a team, and they are also going to be pushing for that division win.
All right, now let's take a look at my picks. This is what I have. I put the Indianapolis Colts here at number 1. I think they take a step forward here now that they have their quarterback. They have extra running back depth, too, as well, and some other receivers, too. I just like this team. I like the way they're built by the offensive line first, and then the defense is amazing as well. And the Titans, again, I see them potentially being another wild card spot. I think the teams are going to tee up on Derrick Henry, try and eliminate that factor and really put pressure on Ryan Tannehill and try and show other, the NFL that maybe that was just kind of, he was sinking with the team last year, but maybe take a tick down and say this is Ryan Tannehill still. And along with you, I think that the Texans take a step back. I don't think they go all the way down to the bottom, but I think they are starting to show that, choices made by the organization are now going to take effect on the team.
I will say this, though, in defense of myself, the Jaguars would have been at the bottom had I known Leonard Fournette wasn't going to be on the team.
Boom, shakalaka.
Yeah, probably.
That just happened.
We could have just changed it. It just happened. So there you go. So he could have something similar to what I had, just flip-flop the top side. So there you go. That's our pick. We are broadcasting live from the Hollow Bar and Kitchen in upstate New York, Albany, New York. It's a pleasure being here tonight. Joe, I'm smelling that lovely food. That food smells amazing. I am ready to dig into some of that.
I can't wait to get some of that.
They've been very good to us here tonight. Dora Phillip, the owner of the Hollow Bar and Kitchen,
she joined us earlier on the show
to talk about what's going on, taking action, and helping your local business. They are also a music venue as well, and getting live music going again in your state. And there are things you can check out to get that going. WeMakeMusic.org is one you could go to, and you can sign a petition that goes to your state.
Bring back live
to
music.
Get it going. Absolutely,
bring it back.
So, and we're here to support that as well. If there's another local business out there too that wants us to come out here, we'll talk about them. Promotion, promote your venue. We're here for you. We're working all this together, and that's what we should all be doing right now.
Helping each other out. It's the name of the game.
So let's move on to the NFC South here. Let's get rolling. We have like a half hour left in our show. We appreciate everybody that's checking us out and liking and sharing. Comment in the comment section. We appreciate it. The NFC South, let's look at the Atlanta Falcons here. A team to where also, if you want to look at Dan Quinn and Dirk Cutter here together, I think this could be a potential hot seat option here.
Absolutely.
Because he has been spoken about that possibly. Since their Super Bowl run, they have not been able to reach that echelon as well, and they've had some players start to trickle away, and things like that.
And the offense just hasn't been good
as well. Absolutely, and we kind of saw some of that too here with Dirk Cutter joined. When Shanahan was there, we were able to see the 1-2 punch with Tevin Campbell and Devontae Freeman here too. They're both gone. Yes, you get Todd Gurley in here, but Dirk Cutter on his record doesn't run the football. So you're only guessing that Todd Gurley is going to be, I guess, involved in the passing game or short passing game. And that's how they're going to get it done and get their small type of, running yards through the short passes here, which might be fine for Matt Ryan because he's not too mobile of a quarterback as well. And Calvin Ridley here has really stepped up into his own and shown that he could be this team's number one and take over the helm when Julio Jones decides to step by. And if he takes a tick back in his production, some people still see him as an elite wide receiver. I think this year, you might start to see some of the tread loosen a little bit. That's my opinion. You might disagree.
I do.
But I think it's going to start to happen this season, and look forward to seeing that. And on the defense, again, a bunch of different faces here. Guys leaving, going to other places here. Joe, why don't you talk a little bit about the defense?
Defense. Here's the interesting thing is what hasn't Atlanta had in a while? A pass rush. So they ended up bringing in the guys like Alan Bailey to try to kind of bolster that up. Maybe ex-Chief, ex-Niner. He comes in. He looks like he's going to be a solid pass rusher / run support guy. Tyler Davison, they re-signed him this past offseason because they liked what they saw out of him last season with the Atlanta Falcons. Grady Jarrett. You can't mention this D-line without Grady Jarrett. All-pro D tackle. He was hurt last year. He's coming back healthy to kind of boost this defense up. Tech McKinley, one of the biggest disappointments on this defense, honestly. He was drafted in the first round in 2017, still has yet to really be productive enough to establish a heavy pass rush, to get the sacks that is required of him, being a first-round pick, making a difference, making an impact. He's fallen well short of that, and the Atlanta Falcons are kind of growing tired of it. They might even, after this season, look to move on from him as well. Dante Fowler Jr., he comes over from the Rams. He's, again, they're trying to boost his pass rush. Guys like Drew Brees and guys like Tom Brady to not be so comfortable behind their offensive line. So they're making an effort. They've brought in some guys. They're getting guys back healthy. They got a rookie in A.J. Terrell, who I think is going to be great for them down the stretch for his career. First-round pick this past draft. He's going to come in, start right away, because they really don't have any answers in that corner spot. Keanu Neal comes back healthy once again. We've seen this train happen again over and over and over. The past couple of years, Keanu Neal has not stayed healthy. He gets injured. He's out for the year. Can't help the team. Hopefully this year he can stay healthy. Ricardo Allen, he's injured right now. Don't know how long for, but he's going to miss at least the first 2 games, I suspect. Isaiah Oliver's getting a shot to start opposite A.J. Terrell. So some young corners hoping to develop quickly for this defense to once again return to prominence.
Absolutely. I mean, that's something to look forward here. Atlanta, they've been that team that's kind of hanging around with the Saints here. Again, the offense, known for an explosive offense here. But Dan Quinn, when he is a defensive-minded guy, known from when they had the Legion of Boom in the Seattle Seahawks, hasn't been able to show that so much. They did in that first half of the Super Bowl, but then again, they tired out. And then the offense had gone stagnant and weren't able to produce, and that's where they let that game slip away. And
Absolutely.
It will be known to history.
Definitely.
As one of the biggest.
And not to mention their offensive line. They had 2 rookies last year that both got hurt. Right tackle Caleb McGarry and also Chris Lindstrom. Both on the right side. They both went down with injuries, missed a huge portion of the season, so they're coming back to kind of solidify this offensive line. Hopefully they do a better job in protecting Matt Ryan and opening up some running lanes. We will see a different offense. You're still going to see Julio Jones being the number 1, but watch out for Calvin Ridley this year. It looks like you're going to see Julio get double-teamed yet again another season, and it might open up the door for Calvin Ridley to kind of really go off this year.
There you go. And now moving on to the Carolina Panthers. They have a new quarterback in the house there, too.
Teddy Bear.
Again, Teddy Bear's there. He's shown that in that little bit of stint there when Drew Brees did go down, you talk about the Saints, showed that he can play at a great level and move the offense here. And that offense clicked just as if Drew Brees was still there. And that was enough to get him a starting job, and that's all he could ask for. And now he's got Robbie Anderson there to be an over-the-top kind of speed guy for him. DJ Moore's still there in the house, so he's a great weapon there. Curtis Samuel gets overlooked, I think, a lot by a lot of people too, and he produces. But everybody knows that Christian McCaffrey is the focus of this whole offense. Teams are going to try and tee up on that, but it's hard when the guy is not only running, he's also receiving. He can return. He can do everything. He can just make you look straight up silly, and that's what happens. And the thing is, this team needs to be able to do something other than him, though, too, as well, and produce and get these other receivers. And I think that's why they grabbed Robbie Anderson, too, to try and hit people deep. So then if you do try and play up on Christian McCaffrey, you can catch him looking and then go and get Robbie Anderson deep on the deep ball. Overall, again, they're in a new turn of events here, moving away from the Cam Newton era and Ron Rivera era and trying to move forward and build with this fresh new look, Joe.
Yeah, fresh new look. It's basically a college coaching staff that got put together.
Absolutely.
So that's going to be interesting to watch. Is what kind of offense are they going to come out with week 1? Is it going to be more, gimmicky, college-like, or is it going to be more of a pro style or maybe a balance of the two? So with Matt Rule now as the head coach, I'm really intrigued to see what exactly they put on the football field week 1. But other than that, I'm excited for DJ Moore. I feel like he's going to have another great year. Was a rookie last year. Now it's his second year. Usually after rookies get a taste of the NFL, they play much better the second year, so watch out for him to go off. Robbie Anderson, still to this day, hasn't been used in the right capacity. The New York Jets with Adam Gase, it seemed like they just had him basically run 40 times up and down the field. And if you get open, we'll throw it to you. But if not, then we're just not going to. And it happened quite often where he almost became invisible at game time. So now I hope making that move now to Carolina, that they're going to change it up. They're going to have him run more than just deep routes. Maybe have him do some drags and posts and slants. Get him involved that way. And with teaming up with DJ Moore, I expect this offense to be a little bit more explosive now, having more weapons at their disposal. Another guy I want to point out, too, on offense is Ian Thomas at tight end. He's looking pretty darn good. We saw flashes of him last year, and now it looks like he's taking on more of a prominent role with Greg Olsen now gone to Seattle. Now they're moving on with the youth, and at center they bring over. They had a huge hole at center, and they bring over Matt Paradis from Denver, a Pro Bowl center. Definitely going to lock down this offensive line and help them get better. And defensively, a lot has changed. No longer do they have Pro Bowler corner James Bradbury. He has now moved on to the New York Giants. He's no longer there. They still have Dante Jackson. I'm sorry. They're pretty good corner on the opposite side. It looks like Eli Apple is getting another shot.
After failing in physical to go to the Raiders, now he lands in Carolina.
Now he lands in Carolina, so it looks like he's going to get a shot there. Trey Boston, an underrated safety. Look for that defense to still try to hold on, but the biggest loss of all, Luke Kuechly.
He ended up announcing his retirement.
So he retires, and now who once was the captain and the go-to guy on the defense is no longer there. So I almost want to say that this defense not only has it changed, personnel, but it's also going to be critically different, on their defensive execution.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. It's going to be, I think, a learning curve this season. I don't think they're going to be competitive so much in this division just because of the upgrade in talent with which they already had talent in Tampa Bay, but now adding Tom Brady, they have Leonard Fournette there too. Yeah. It seems like they're trying to make that push there for the Super Bowl and to combat the Saints there. And Atlanta's always been good, so it'd be interesting to see the team that ends up being on the lower part of this division. All right, let's move on to the New Orleans Saints. Like we just brought them up here. They end up drafting Cesar Ruiz here for the right guard here at number 1 overall for them in the first round. So that's one key thing they needed here on the right guard position to help keep Drew Brees up and not get injured. We've heard the talks about Alvin Kamara going through contract debates here and talks, and it's been pretty much even keeled. It looks like they're working on getting something done. It's pretty close. I know they were talking about trading him, possibly getting number 1, but I think that's all just speculation. If something by chance doesn't get done, it's pretty much going to happen. They're just doing, verbiage, changing things and getting that straightened out. I wouldn't alarm people so much like people want to do. Emmanuel Sanders comes to the team, too. He was a nice little highlight for the San Francisco 49ers that showed that when they needed a wide receiver at the time, he showed that he could still produce at a pretty good level here. So he's going to be opposite of Michael Thomas. And still Jared Cook there, too, at the tight end, which they always utilize the tight end positions here, too. So, again, looking at this team, they're always going to be competitive. That defense is always great, too, as well. So, they're going to be a contender for this division. Until otherwise, they're going to be a tough team to take down.
Absolutely, and especially now that you got Drew Brees healthy, coming back. Look for him to kind of revamp back to his vintage stage because last year you could say, oh, well, he didn't have the greatest year. He was missing some targets. He was playing injured and then missed some time afterwards. So I look for this year to be more of a comeback year for Drew Brees, with a solid offensive line in front of him. Alvin Kamara, I know a lot of people are a little scared if you're a Saints fan. Oh, what do you mean they're going to trade him? No one's trading anybody. That was just a rumor that was fed out there because they were like, oh, well, he's not at practice anymore.
Right.
So people kind of just ran with it and said, oh, well, he's holding out and he's going to look to be traded. And no, none of that was happening. What happened was he wasn't going to go back to practice unless they had a deal done. It sounds like right now he's going to return back to practice in a couple days. And what that means is pretty much they've agreed on probably a contract that's going to be announced later on. So nothing to worry about there. We already know about their explosive offense. Emmanuel Sanders, new addition, great addition. To team up with Michael Thomas and Jared Cook at tight end is going to be pretty exciting. And then defensively, the only question I have for this defense is not their secondary, not their D-line. They got pass rush. They got coverage ability. But linebackers look like there's some holes in that spot. With Alex Anzalone, who can't stay healthy, we have to wait and see how they play for this upcoming year. But nonetheless, this team is going to contend for this division.
Absolutely. And then talking about the other team that everybody is high on right now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Gee, I wonder
Not
why.
much extra to say about this team. Again, you know the talent's there. I mean, you got Mike Evans, you got Chris Godwin still. You still have O.J. Howard there so far. I mean, there were talks that maybe they were going to try to move him along, but they also had Cameron Brate there, who was very productive. It seemed like their number one target here for Jameis Winston, overproducing over top of O.J. Howard. But then they go and get Rob Gronkowski here because Tom Brady had said, hey, if I give a call, I could probably get Rob to come back. And they're like, sure, do it. See what happens. And there you go. Lo and behold, Gronk comes out of retirement. He's back with the team. They go and get Ndamukong Suh here, who played a little stint here with the Rams. Didn't really produce too much until it seemed like he did a little bit in the playoffs, turned it up a little, but not really a whole lot. As far as that goes, still a little bit different here on the front line besides Jason Pierre-Paul, Vita Vea, and Levante David, still always a great defender here with them. Shaquille Barrett, I think, gets overlooked by a lot of people too.
Not
he was
anymore.
one of those guys that played hard, and then finally he's like, I think he even went on Twitter this year and said, listen, you guys see me now? You basically see me now? And we were like, we do. We've been here, and so it's great to see him out there as well. And still this secondary is their main problem here with this team, and that could be the issue here moving forward for them.
You say problem, but I say solution. These two young corners that they have played really, really good down the stretch last season. They definitely have locked in as the starters, and they're going to surprise some people. This defense with Shaq Barrett, I mean, everybody knows about Shaq Barrett now. We've seen his accolades last season. He's definitely on the scene, and everybody's taking notice. When you got Jason Pierre-Paul coming back healthy, you got guys like Ndamukong Suh. I don't know how that's going to work. He just keeps getting older and older, and eventually Father Time says, I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to play anymore. So I feel like he's kind of gearing down, and although it is like a nice one-year fill type of thing for that position, he's still going to be okay against the run. But as far as pass rush goes, he's never been that. Also, you look at their draft pick as a safety, Antoine Winfield Jr., who I absolutely love this kid. I think he's going to be a very dynamic safety for them. I'm hoping that he starts right away because I really want to see what kind of a difference he can make. But he might not get it right this. He'll get in the rotation type of thing and get a feel for it until he locks down that position. But offensively, what can you say? Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Tom Brady now is your quarterback. You don't have to worry about interceptions. You don't worry about miscues and poor decision-making.
Well.
Guy that's going to get the ball out of his hands quickly and get it to the right personnel. I just think of the world of them. And now they have a legitimate running back in Leonard Fournette who's going to be running with this offense. That just makes this offense even scarier. Watch out for them this season.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see. Look at that moving forward. All right, so now, Joe, let's take a look at your picks now for the NFC South. And you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here at the top here taking the division with the Saints. And
I
then
feel a
the
lot more
Falcons,
comfortable now that Fournette's there.
Yeah, right? That helps solidify that whole pick
It
there.
definitely helps
looks
with
good.
the running game. Saints, they're always high-profile, high-powered offense. You got to watch out for one of those two teams. I feel like it's either going to be Tampa or it's going to be the Saints winning this division, and I don't think any other team is going to get in the way. Atlanta just isn't quite ready. Poor coaching, poor offensive coordinator. It doesn't. That's not a recipe for success or to get points. So I feel like they're going to fall short. They fall to third. And the Panthers, new coaching staff, a lot of new faces, a lot of change, which doesn't necessarily equal success. So we still don't know. Is it going to be a college offense, which never works in the league? So I got them finishing last.
All right, there you go. And then I have the Saints here at top again. Like I said, I'm sticking with them until somebody proves me otherwise.
Right.
I've seen the weapons that are on the team here for Tampa Bay. I think Tom Brady is taking a step back, no matter what kind of footage they're showing us here in practice or in training camp, because you're always going to see the highlights. They're not going to say, look where he screwed up. And Atlanta, again, I think it's time. You're going to start hearing the riots coming here to take care of Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn is on his way out. I think Bill O'Brien is going to be possibly on his way out here. So you might see change amongst the rankings in the South here in the NFL. And starting out, Matt Rule, as like Joe said, I'm not sure what we're going to see. Are we going to see a hybrid? What are we going to see with this team? Fresh start with Teddy Bridgewater. Something competitive, but still, I think
something else that kind of
learning to do.
Right, something that just kind of floated in my head here, thinking about it on a fantasy perspective too, is Christian McCaffrey. We know that he's definitely the number one guy that you should take in your fantasy leagues, but we're also contributing that to last season's production with a different offense. Now this offense is new and different. I don't know if they're going to run or throw to him as much as they did in with this past offense that they ran. So that's another thing to kind of keep an evaluation on and see how that works out for him.
Absolutely. So there you go. That's our show for tonight. We really appreciate you guys checking us out.
Thank you guys so much.
We appreciate the Hollow having us here tonight. It's always a pleasure coming here. A lot of great memories here, a lot of great food, entertainment. Again, support your local businesses. We're going to be trying to doing this the whole season here. The NFL season starts in 8 days, so almost 7 days. We're getting
exciting.
there.
I can't wait.
Exciting. And so again, save our state. #save our stages out there, please. Again, let's get music going again so we can all congregate, enjoy ourselves at a safe distance, and have a good time. Don't forget to like the video, share it, post some comments too on YouTube after you guys view it on later tomorrow or whenever. We will be putting a separate video of just our interview that we had with the owner of the Hollow, Dora Phillip, here, where she talks about the struggles that they have had and what they have done moving forward to combat the virus and how they're able to sustain right now amongst all this whole thing that's been happening across our nation. So thank you so much for joining us. We will see you guys next time.